Howdy, I'm Matt, and welcome to today's live mastermind. Now, you may have noticed we're one man short. I'm sure will be joining us in just a moment. So, what have we got on the topic list for you today? Now, there are three topics which I would like to cover in today's mastermind. Number one is that we're going to have a look at some of the recent events which have been going on in the world of e-commerce. One of them's pretty big when it comes to eBay. Number two is an absolute, and a shocker when it comes to Amazon as well. Number two, we are going to be taking a closer look at IntelChimp. And number three, we need to give you an update on the schedule for these masterminds in 2019. So, Dave, I can see you've been and joined us. Happy day.
Hello. It's that Sod's Law thing, isn't it? Where, you come to use a piece of technology and right at that moment, it decides to do an update. And they're fucking slow on at that. So apologies. I'm on laptop and we're here.
Indeed. Right. With that said, what I'm going to do, let's go and jump across to the main screen. So, Dave, we're going to break today up into three sections. Cool. Quick news update. Then we're going to have a look at IntelChimp and have a look at the progress of that. And number three, as far as the masterminds ongoing and our plan for those this year. So the first one is, it's actually a biggie. Basically, for all intents and purposes, eBay have now banned dropshipping from Amazon on eBay, which is, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, it's got had got rather prolific, hadn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is something which had been going on for quite some time. And it was not ignored, but I think it was just always a case of, well, what we're going to do about it, blah, blah, blah. And now it looks like eBay are actually taking some action regarding this. And it's, like I said, from an eSeller Cafe point of view, this story alone generated a lot of interest yesterday when it went live. So yeah, it's a hot topic. Lots of people are talking about it, and it's sort of coming back to the whole arbitrage situation, and it's really is sort of kicking off online, because there's a lot of communities and stuff which facilitate this arbitrage, and it's.
I know, Dave, I just button in there is that surely they would have seen the writing was on the wall for this, is that it was providing no value at all back to the end customer.
No, absolutely. It's people just trying to skim off the top of, existing, providers, existing suppliers. So if anything, buyers could usually get the item cheaper if they'd spent some time looking for it. And yeah, I think that's eBay's point of view. Ultimately, they need to keep buyers happy, need to keep sellers happy. And ultimately, this didn't really serve to really help buyers much. So
it didn't help them at all. It was only to help them. It kept them on a single marketplace, which, by the way, is actually a challenge which eBay, I don't even know how they're going to tackle. Is that, if I just turn this off a second, I don't even know how eBay are going to tackle, because one of the nice things of actually buying from one retailer, aka Amazon, is that when something goes wrong, you have a single point of contact and they're still there. Whereas that on eBay is that you end up with multiple points of contact and they may or may not be there. And the other concerning piece is that eBay basically deletes your order after 45 days anyway. Whereas Amazon keeps your purchase history there forever. So yeah, very, very curious one, to say the least. Actually, that brings us nicely on to the other article which I've been and picked out, which was this one here. And let me go present to everybody. Dave, 101 million Prime users in the US.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of big news, because I remember when I was at Channel Advisor Catalyst in the UK last year, Channel Advisor's CEO David Spitz was sort of talking about rumored or expected numbers, and I think the number which they came up with was 100 million globally. So if there's 101 million just in the US, not taking into account the UK, which I'm sure will be the next biggest market, and then potentially Germany as well. Yeah, that number is globally must be close to 110, maybe 120. Yeah, so that is huge numbers. From Me and you, Matt, knowing how a subscription service works, those are insane numbers. That is a lot of $70 a year right there.
Exactly.
Or $100 a year, whatever it is these days.
It's funny because we were joking only a couple of days ago about whether we were making some up in a group and whether the Netflix and subscription was included or not, and then we all complained that it was an Amazon Prime Video subscription in there because we all know it's rubbish compared to Netflix. But the curious one here is that members spend an average of $1,400 annually versus $600 for non-members. There's a massive incentive there to get people across to the Prime subscription. So I can only see Amazon adding more and more value adds to the Prime thing over time, because that's a massive difference between those two. It's twice as much the average user is spending.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Very
it makes sense for them to just try and convert as many people as possible. So yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't do it.
Absolutely. Well, that was the marketplace news. Those are the two ones which have really stuck out to me over the last week or two, and I think they're both very recent as well, aren't they, Dave?
Yeah, both from last week. Yeah.
Both from the last week as well. Daft point is that I've only picked out two. There's many other articles on eSeller Cafe where Dave is an author there, and of course Richard too. Changing topics, and I have gone off. I was off looking at something else a few moments ago. Some of you may remember is that before Christmas is that Matt, myself, was working on a project called IntelChimp, and we gave you an idea of what was going to be included in it, etc., etc. And for the last month or so, I've been busy, a busy little beaver here in the background, working on it. And today we're going to have a quick look at what we've got coming out very shortly. Now, shortly is not probably the best word for this. I've still got quite a long list to go. And I'm sure many of you will know from last week when Dave mentioned that when we get around to doing a homepage, as you know from doing your own website, is that we always say you do the homepage last because it's like one of the last pieces of the puzzle. I've done the homepage within IntelChimp. So we've got a few technical things just to get ironed out. And obviously I've got a list of things I would like to add, like the length of my arm. But in reality, the bulk of it's there. We just need to sort out iron out a few minor things and get quite a bit of help content in there for you as well. Now, before we go any further, I think it's worth pointing out this, because I did notice that there was another, well, I'm going to say I'm not going to say another, I'm going to say a market research tool just appeared within the in the last month or two. And I was thinking about this because IntelChimp is not a marketplace research tool. It was never meant to be a market research tool. So if we take Terapeak, for example, that is a fantastic tool which allows you to do your research into sellers, into products, and find out what's selling, find out what's not selling, and then really dig into and get a real good general feel about a category or a product type. Whereas IntelChimp is actually the complete reverse of that, because that's all kind of fluffy and vague. Whereas IntelChimp is highly focused on you and what you actually have in your hand right now to sell, okay? And what we can do to make that sell better, okay? So keep that in the back of your mind. IntelChimp is specifically focused upon your items and what you can do to your items to help you sell more. Okay, there's no vagueness here. Okay, it's giving you follow these steps, do these things for this specific listing, and given time, you should be rewarded for your efforts. In short, and this is basically me and Dave trying to iron out exactly we're getting. And again, at the moment we can interrogate so much. Like I said, there's a list as long as of arms and things we'd like to interrogate and feed back to you. Image sizes being one as well, because remember in one of the last product research videos, we were looking on eBay, and then it was really odd because we had a seller which had nice images, and then this tiny little image which was just awful, which is something which would be very, very easily remedied and again inspire confidence back to a consumer. So anyway, with that said, let's jump across the screen and go and take a nose. Dave, does that make sense, by the way, that point of view, which is that we're focusing upon an item not just being general in a category.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're doing here with IntelChimp is actually going a lot deeper into the interrogation of your listing as a whole. And that's what no one else is really doing right now.
Exactly. And
this all stemmed, Matt, didn't it, from the fact that we had never seen and still never have seen the perfect eBay listing. So I can't wait till somebody finds out how to get 100% on or 100 out of 100 on an IntelChimp score.
Yeah. It is going to be a real curious one. And again, there's like a tiny little bug in the system right now, which is that if you're in the US, for example, you're not eligible for click and collect, but right now you'll be scored negatively if you're not able to do click and collect. So there are like minor things. Like I said, I've got a long list of known things which need to be tweaked and also added to as well. But we've I've done my best to try and get all the key ones in first, and then we'll go after the refinements afterwards. Now, just to give you a quick heads up, I've just put a placeholder video in there for the time being. In that video, we'll end up with an introduction to IntelChimp, kind of like what we've just discussed here, where we're focusing upon the items which you have in your hand right now, the items which you have on eBay right now, and what you can do to improve each individual listing, and literally have just a checklist to work through. So with that said, dashboard's kind of there. It's all pretty straightforward. Again, I've tried to keep most things as simple as possible. Everything is big, everything is clickable, nice and easy, straightforward. So we've got a nice support ticket system or case system already built into the tool as well. So there's integrated support too. If we go in, and I tell you what, let's go into intelligence. Now, you'll notice there's quite a few sections on the left-hand side. That's because this framework is actually going to go on and be used for other tools later. So when the IntelChimp goes live, don't panic if you only see a couple of sections on the left-hand side. That's just because this tool specifically is focused upon interrogating your listings. Anyway, coming back to the topic, just trying to keep things really, really simple into a traffic light system, good, bad, and ugly. Okay, so we'll see for this listing again. I've got to put my hands up here. This is my listings. They are terrible, okay? Absolutely terrible. Hence why the overall score, I should be ashamed, is at 13%. In fact, it might even be a challenge, Dave, to see if we can crank this one up to 100% or get as close as possible, just for hoops and giggles. Yeah. We can, okay? So that was probably what we'll do is in a webinar for IntelChimp some point in the future. Anyway, overall, so you get kind of an idea of what the overall score, so you can see which ones are your best listings and which ones are your worst ones. We then break them down into good, the AKA things which you have been completed or filled out, etc. Ones which you've got warnings on, and that is kind of things which you probably should be doing, but they're not as important as the danger ones, okay? So we go in and take a look at the danger ones. We'll take a look at this view now. To give you a quick heads up, there's an update which I'm about to push out, which has got a load of item specifics details at the top. So this section will fill out very shortly. And what I've done my best to do is we've got a lot of information here to try and convey as simply as possible. And again, to try and make it as useful as possible for you. So we'll focus upon these tabs down here. So, we're focusing upon the danger items first, the things which you should be doing, okay? AKA best offer being enabled, and at least the item available for click and collect. Again, that's one of the ones which you mentioned a few moments ago, Dave, is that we'll take that out of the algorithm so you don't get penalized if you're in the US and you don't have click and collect, for example, okay? So we've again got our warning items. We've got our good items, things which you have been completed. Now, just give you a quick heads up. I'm using a fake category. Well, I'm using not the category which it says up here. It's actually a different category. So we've got random items in here at the moment. But the idea is that to try and get everything at your fingertips. So not only can you interrogate your listing and then get rid of those danger items, work on those warning items, but then we're also going to go further into item-specific recommendations. That's something which I've been working on and getting almost complete with this morning. And I've been on that for the last couple of days. It's been pretty tough trying to get it in. And there's still work to be done on there. But we'll also go off and take a look at we'll enable you to go and find the top selling items for the category which you're selling in as well, not have to leave the actual app itself. We'll look at item specifics while we're here. So one of the things about item specifics is that, especially if you're using a third-party tool, you really don't know what variations or values you should be using. And again, you have to go off to eBay and you have to check them. And then is that actually applicable to your listing, and so on and so forth. So if I go and pick one of these at random, so we'll pick on language. There we go. So these are, so again, this is, I'm picking on one US category to do all my testing with, which is pre-1970s. Sorry, it's what do we call it? It's a toys category on collectibles in the US. So I'm just using that one to start with, and then I'll choose a technology category in the UK, and then I'll go and choose someone from a different site completely unrelated and make sure it works as expected. Anyway, get into Illustrator. It's quite nice. We can see that we've got an item specific name, the site, the category. And again, the nice thing about that is we can click on that. We can actually go across to eBay and see what the variations are as far as item specifics go. So we got material, brand type, so soldier type, and gender in there as well. And then coming back to this one specifically, we can see the type of item specific it is. So free text, and then we got some thing is, you'll get the kind of swing of this quite quickly, and then you'll see the suggested options in here. And that's a crucial one for free text specifically, is that you can use their suggestions, or you can add your own value instead. Okay, so that's like colors, but not picking from a set range of colors, for example. And then we'll also go on, and because there's some caveats when it comes to eBay, let me just turn this off a second. We'll go back to the camera. There are some caveats when it comes to item specifics with eBay, is because there are some conditional rules. So if you have one thing, you can have something else, but if you have that thing, then you can't have something else. As well. Then there's also sub-validation rules as well, which you need to jump through as well. It does. Item specifics sound really simple, but actually when you look at them at a much deeper level, they do get rather complicated very quickly.
I remember I thought, yeah, that's just got so many spiders of how item specifics touch. It's like, oh. Yeah, I knew that would be a tricky one.
Yeah, it goes off on a tangent very, very quickly. And again, I'm doing my best to try and simplify this as possible, so at least you know that we'll take into account the item specifics which you're using right now. And this table will then update with some checks or some green bits, because those are the ones which you've got in your listings. But we'll then also not only highlight the ones which you're not using, which is, again, if you're struggling for putting item specifics in your listings, if you've got a list of all the ones which you've got, and crucially, you've got a list of all the ones which you don't have, which are available, then that's happy days. And then if we then combine that with the item specifics for the top selling items in the category, which you can't see. So let me go back to the screen a second. We go back, that one there. So present to everybody. There we go. So we were looking at the item specific suggestions. So you can imagine some of these having ticks next to, because you've already got those in your list, and you imagine some of these as being highlighted as red because you've not been and got them. However, down at the bottom, which is a pseudo section, which is I've written come soon because it's half worked upon, is that we'll take the top selling items for that category. We'll interrogate each one of these listings, and then we'll give you suggestions back on this item specifics which eBay are not suggesting to you for that category as well. So that's what I was trying to say earlier, is that we're focusing upon your items. So we're not only focused upon that item specifically. So imagine this is your slim fit Dobby Oxford shirt. We're not only giving you suggestions on what you can do to improve that listing and tell you exactly what you should be doing. We'll not only take eBay suggestions, but we'll also take in the suggestions from what other sellers are doing, so that it should be a case. In the beginning, it'll be a copy and paste. You'll need to go off and actually manually add those items to eBay. Of course, later, we'll have a fix it button, and you can go and fix your own listing there and then, and not have to disappear off to eBay or into your third-party tool. So you'll have a fix it option, which you can then go and hit the button, and you choose what you'd like to fix, and off you go, and it will update on eBay straight away for you. So that's somewhere where we're going with it. If we go and take a look at danger items, now, Dave, we touched on these previously, didn't we? Which is, it's just a straightforward traffic light system. So here in the UK, if you don't have your item for available for click and collect, and it's actually eligible for click and collect, then you're kind of nuts. in short, because it doesn't cost you anything more. It doesn't cost the buyer anything more. And in fact, it should attract you more buyers because they're able to have it dropped into a local store of their own choice, and they can pick it up at their own time. And again, if you're thinking in Argos, they have to show some form of identification. So it's even better than the postman just throwing it at the door of your customer. So, which does happen here every single morning. He takes 2 steps like that, he's lobbed it at the front door. So anyway, getting back to my point, we do interrogate a collection of different things as well. And again, you'll see in here, image count is actually being picked up in here. We've only got 1 image in that actual listing itself, and you should be penalized for only having 1 image. In fact, I'm going to be frankly honest with you, you should be penalized for having less than 12 images, because that's the maximum which you're allowed per variation. I need to hasten to that. So, yeah. We will be a little bit more relaxed on that one. So if you've only got, say, up to 5 images, or say you've got 5 images, then that's going to be classed as a danger item, in short. If you've got, say, between 6 and 9 images, then that would be a warning, okay? Because I think that's valid. 6 to 9 images, that's a good number of images for a thing, but it's still not the maximum 12. And of course, if you had the 12 or 10, 11 or 12, then that's going to fall into the good category. Okay, so we are going to be quite strict in what the suggestions are, because they are suggestions which we know have an impact upon sales on eBay. How can you have too many images for a customer to understand that product which they don't have in their hands? And that's the thing, is that you've got to remember, I'm sure I talked into the converted here, is that you cannot pick up this charger and actually feel it for yourself. You don't know what the dimensions are. You can't see it in relation to a pen, for example. You can't see it in relation to your phone. So that's the thing. This is what the customers need, is images, as many of, so they actually get to understand the actual product itself. So that's something which will be quite harsh upon. There's a collection of other things in here. I'm not going to bore you with all of them, but we'll have a quick note. Some of them. Second eBay category. Okay, the old 80-20 rule is that 80% of sales are made on eBay because someone's made a search. However, if someone's browsing, which is the other 20%, is that for the sake of a couple of pence extra, add the second eBay category. Okay, now of course there are caveats to that, which you may get charged more for the item being in the second category, so we'll identify those things as well to you. And again, that's the purpose of these little help sections. So we're trying to keep this as Matt and Dave friendly as possible, which is so available for click and collect. What is this? Okay, why should you care about it? Okay, and what can you do about this? Okay, so we just try and keep this in plain English. And Dave's been writing some descriptions for those. I need to get those into the tool as well. Yep. And there's a collection of little help pieces too. And that's the plan. Again, like we mentioned we gave you some ideas previously. We will go off and have a look on Amazon to see, again, we are focusing upon your item, which is this shirt. However, if that shirt is available on Amazon, why should you not go and take a look at Amazon to see what someone else has done for the bullet points for the item, and then with the description or any other details which have been picked up? Maybe you want to go and investigate the real reviews, for example. Again, depends how far you want to go with this one. So we're going to identify that item or those items on Amazon for you, bring that information back, and also we'll take a later revision. We'll have disputes and messages as well. Again, help you identify common themes or issues which have been going on and causing disputes or causing messages to happen, so that you can then address them within the actual listing itself. So if you get asked 5 times about clarification on size or fitment, when perhaps you could have actually added it to the description itself, it's kind of a bit of a no-brainer, because how long does it take to answer those 5 messages? Gets a bit repetitive after a while. It's not the best use of your time, but the best use of your time would have actually been to include that information within the description. So that's where we are right now. We've made quite a hefty dent in it over the past couple of weeks. As like I said, still got quite a bit of headway to go, but we are into minor territory now. It's just making sure things work as we expect, and some polishing in a few places as well, like getting some decent descriptions in there, rather than having to build whole sections. The majority of the framework is there now. So that's IntelChimp. Watch this space. It's not that far away in all reality. Let's have a quick. JLo says title suggestions as well. Yes, absolutely. Again, we can look at sold items on eBay. We can do a collection of things when it comes to eBay as well. What I would actually say with that, Jay, is that we need to focus upon the item itself. We can look at the title. We can investigate the length. We can see whether you've used caps lock on there. We can see if you're using a subtitle like that as well. But the actual keyword suggestions, that will come in a later version when we start interrogating the top selling items within a category, so we can get that item specific data, and titles will be one of those, and we'll keyword mine those, the living daylights out of those as well. Again, like I said, I've got a long list of items which I would like to add. However, that long list, I've actually said version 2, version 3, version 4, we'll add those sequentially later. But right now, what's the heart of the tool? The heart of the tool is knowing, in this instance, I look over here on my really bad item that I really need to be offering click and collect, best offer, need to be finding the EPID or having a UPC or EAN or JAN actually set for the item, and so on and so forth. Just getting the basics right. As my listing is so bad, I just need to get the basics right so we can move forwards on it. So yeah, good pointers on it, Joe. Jay is on the list. Don't worry, but it's further down the list. We need to get it over the line so we can get you to use it. So that if you have any comments or suggestions like that, for example, we can build that in into a later version. So yeah, IntelChimp, we're getting there. We're not that far away now. Happy days. Yeah. So Jay, you're absolutely right. Looks great for starters. Nailed the head on the hit the nail on the head. Started
hammer on the nail.
Yeah, hammer on the nail. That's the point. We just need to start somewhere. I need to get it to a level where it can be used and it can be abused. So watch this space the next couple of weeks. That brings us on to our last topic for today. So we'll tell me about half an hour today. Our last topic for today is that we are going to be doing these masterminds fortnightly from now on. Okay, so the next mastermind will be in 2 weeks' time, same time as normal. Okay, 3 p.m. here in the UK. However, we're going to move the masterminds this year to every 2 weeks. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is that we did feel towards the end of last year we were perhaps repeating ourselves in a few instances. And also, just from a practical point of view, Dave is now away for a couple of weeks. And secondary to that is that I'm really heads down, absolutely like completely focused on trying to get IntelChimp over the line, because once we get IntelChimp just in the basic version over the line, that opens up the other tools which you mentioned last year, which we've got, which we would like to do. And parts of it, like you may have noticed in the left-hand menu, parts of this have already been worked upon, but they need to be finished so we can get them out and give you a hand and help you in your business. So yeah, to give you a heads up, we're going to be doing this every fortnight. So look out for the notifications on the YouTube channel. We'll book these in advance. Okay, we'll also be able to set the topics in advance as well. And of course, if there's any ad hoc ones which come out, like when IntelChimp, for example, comes out, we'll also email you and let you know that there's a mastermind going out, or a look at IntelChimp, for example. Again, especially if you're an UnderstandingE premium member, remember we look after you for when it comes to the pricing on these things as well. So yeah, that's where we stand at the moment. So to quickly recap what we've been covered, a quick news update, which is that thank goodness eBay have banned dropshippers. And again, the bad ones. In short, we all know that having dynamic inventory or drop shipping inventory for some products is perfectly fine, especially if they end up coming to your warehouse and then going on. I'm thinking, for example, I bought a UPVC door from Screwfix, for example, and that's been sent from an external company straight to my door. That's fine. Okay, it's a valid business model. However, just as Dave rightly put it, skimming off the top for some Amazon items because customers are too lazy to go and search on Amazon for the same item, etc. So that's not, is not helping the customer at the end of the day. So thumbs up for me on that one. Sorry if it sucks if that's what your business model was, but there's other ways of making money out there. Amazon Prime subscription members, 101 million in the US. Absolutely shocking. I think Dave, we spoke about that in the predictions for 2019, didn't we, back in November, which was the basic summary is Amazon will continue to grow unless they do an epic screw up, which we don't foresee them doing.
Yeah, no, it seems unlikely, but I mean, these screw ups can come out of anywhere. You know, Apple, Google, they've all had their instances in the past. Amazon's, they had a slight hiccup in October, November when it came to, I think it was like a data breach, but that got brushed under the carpet so quick, which makes me think it wasn't really that big of a deal, that there was no sensitive information there, because it just sort of very quickly went away. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see it. They're just going to carry on dominating. And funny, I was chatting to my mother before, and she was saying how she'd sent my sister something first class. It took 3 days to get there. I just said, give it time, and Amazon will come on to compete with Royal Mail, and they'll offer a letter delivery service cheaper than they do. It'll be quicker than they can do it. And, you know, it's just one of those things. You're just waiting for Amazon disruption now to tackle all the problems of the world. So,
exactly. And again, that was I think it was got an item delivered today from Amazon, which was fantastic. And that is, you've heard me say this so many times, is that if it's not here today or it's not here tomorrow, it's late. And that's really down to the. I'm so glad to say that I have same day delivery possibilities here in Bristol. Yeah. I never believed. I always thought that would be something which was happening in London, for example, and it never happened. With like the likes of eBay, for example. However, Amazon have come on and absolutely floored it. Jay, I've just seen your comment. Yes, absolutely, 1-star notifications. We also spoke about IntelChimp. Work in progress. We've never been as close as we've been right now. It's just polishing in certain places. There are no major points for version 1 to be worked on. It's just refining what we've got right now to get it ready for you. Remember, keep in the back of your mind, we're focusing upon the item which you have in your hand for sale. We're not just doing broad searches across eBay, like, for example, Therapy, for example. We're actually looking at your items, interrogating them, and then giving you, look, here's the checklist. You just go work through these things, okay? One of the nice things about actually is that with like the Edgeable for click and collect, that's almost like a global setting for the vast majority of your products, the ones which meet their requirements, okay? So you expect to see a large number of those disappear once you've had those identified. And then, of course, we spoke about the final thing which we spoke about is we're going to be moving to every 2 weeks. Again, just to quickly recap there, Dave's away for now for the next week or so. And B, I'm absolutely flat out in code trying to get this out for you, and also at the same time preparing for the next set of tools which will come out as well. As Megan, if you missed it, one of the things which we will be focusing upon this year is software tools to help you as a business owner. So watch this space because we have 5 of them to get out. You've only seen 1. There are a collection more as well. So cool beans. Any feedback which you've got on IntelChimp, any ideas or suggestions, very, very much welcomed. You can get in contact with myself at Matt, M-A-T-T, at UnderstandingE.com. And again, I appreciate the feedback, good, bad, or ugly, as the case may be. So on that note, it's time for us to go. Thank you very much for joining us. Myself, Matt, and
from me, Dave. Yes, yeah, we'll catch you in a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, we will get a schedule put out. We'll let you know about what we've got coming up. Probably post it in the Facebook group, and you'll figure it out.
Exactly. Again, don't forget that if you're subscribed on YouTube, you will get notified when we put out the next couple of reminders, or sorry, the next couple of masterminds, and you'll get the dates right and the times right, and etc. etc. And of course, that YouTube will then notify you as well. Again, if you press the bell icon, they'll notify you not only when it's being published, so you'll know when it's going to happen. They'll also send you a reminder when it's about to happen as well, which I can tell you from first-hand experience, very useful indeed. Anyway, it's time for us to go. Myself, Matt.
From me, Dave.
Cheerios.
See you soon, guys.
Bye-bye.